Hi, welcome to Turn Left Motorsports' second technical talk. Here we have Austin Hall who's going to help us go through the setup on a go-kart.
First, let's take a quick pause, talk about setup sheets. Now, most manufacturers for offset karts have their setup sheets readily available online. Here we're looking at all the PRC karts that exist, even all the way down to the Banshee, which was made in the 90s. Most manufacturers have all this stuff readily available online, and I highly encourage you to go find your kart setup sheet before you get started.
As you can see, PRC, Millennium, Charger, and Ultramax all have their setup information on their websites. If you aren't finding the information you need, just try to contact whoever made your kart. So far, anyone that we've contacted for kart setup information has been very helpful.
The numbers and setup that we're going to put in this kart today are for our track, Parmalee Motorsports Park, so they're going to vary from what Ultramax suggests.
Let's walk us through the highlights of what we're going to look at today.
Okay, so most of the adjustment that you're going to find on the offset karts for dirt are going to be in your blocks up front here. You're going to have your caster, which is all these numbers here. Your camber is going to be in and out, right to left on these pieces. Then you'll have your toe, which is adjustable by this tie rod here. I don't know if anyone really pays attention that much to it, but we don't really pay too much attention to it. But the Ackerman basically is from the center point of this upper joint to the center of the tie rod on each side. I usually run them straight up. There's a little bit of wheelbase adjustment on these ones just because they're newer. They have pins down in the center down here that can move forward and back and up and down. The rears of these are clamshell style, so they don't have the actual hangers that you'll see on a lot of karts, but you can change the pill blocks back here to adjust for rear steer, front and back, or up and down.
We're going to start set up with the front end geometry. In order to do so, we're going to first pull the wheel and hub assembly just to get them out of the way and to expose the spindles.
So to set your camber and caster, usually I like to use one of these angle finders that you can get at hardware stores or Lowe's or Home Depot, something like that. You really don't need the real fancy camber caster tools unless you really want one. But usually what I do is I come back here to the frame and try to find a seat bar or something that goes across side to side, and you'll see that our ground underneath this cart is about a half a degree off. So what I'll do is I'll hit the 0, so then we make sure that our number we're starting with is 0, and then we'll come up here, and to get our caster measurements we'll just throw this right on here, and it's showing 0.25, and if you tip this way it's going the other way. So what we need to do is we need to add more camber into this side by pulling this heim that way. So right there it's showing 0.50. So what I'll do is I'll just loosen up the inside nut a little bit and tighten up the outside nut. And that should bring us across that threshold of 0 eventually. For a left front, I'm usually looking for anywhere between 0 and a half a degree. Half a degree is usually pretty good, but it will all depend on the type of track that you're running. So for this one here, we're just going to shoot for anywhere between 1.5 and 2 degrees. For the bigger tracks that have more banking, you're going to want more camber, and for the smaller tracks that have less banking, you're going to want less camber. Alright, so now that we have that adjusted, we'll just put our safety pin back in. We're looking at about 1.25 for this track. The corners are fairly flat, so by using less camber you take the right front tire out of the track less, and it allows you to rotate through the middle of the corner. Alright, so now we're going to do some Ackerman adjusting. A lot of times on these karts you'll come into a setup where there will be 3 different holes through here, so I'll pull this one off so we can get a good look at it. So you get it like that, where it's got 3 slotted holes. So basically by moving the bolt to the front hole, you get quicker steering activation, and by moving it to the rear hole, you get slower steering activation. Now on tracks that we run, most of the time we run both sides in the center hole. There is such thing as adjusting Ackerman to get the cart to do different things, but without going into too much detail, by getting it to be really even, you get your caster sweep on both sides to be very even. And then you come over here. This one was slow on the left side, fast on the right side. So that would make for a cart that would not get into the corner very good, but it would get through the middle pretty good. So with all that tight, you just put your safety pins back in. Wherever the hole's at. So next thing we're going to talk about is the caster adjustment on these carts. So you'll notice there's these numbers on the top, and most of the time your base numbers are going to be 8 on your left front and 12 on your right front. The different angle that you put into this, so the higher that you go on this side will lift the cart on the left front, take the weight off of the left rear and transfer it to the right front. So to play with different splits, you usually want to be more positive on this side and less positive on this side. You can always run it even up or more on this side, but don't ever have more on your left side. Toe is actually the difference from the front side of both of these tires to the rear side of both these tires. It's going to adjust how this tracks and how it enters the corner. So I just use a real stupid proof way of doing this. So I just go from the inside of that rim to the inside of this rim, and I can see that my measurement here is 21 3/4. So then I'll take and I'll go inside the steering shaft there, and I'll go to here, and I'll see that I'm at 21 11/16, which means I'm 1/16 of an inch narrow in the back. That's 1/16 of an inch of toe out in the front, which is what we're looking for. So we can just tighten up all of these jam nuts. We don't have to worry about messing with any of it.
We're going to take a look at now at scaling systems. Since we're part of Turn Left Motorsports, we brought the classiest bathroom scales we could haul out, and let's get scaling this bad boy.
So here we're going to start with the scaling process, and normally what we're going to look for is we're just going to look at what numbers we've got on each one of our corners underneath these wheels. And generally on these I like to go to gtssparkplugs.com and use their calculator, and you just type in your numbers all around and you hit calculate, and it shows you all your numbers. So for right now we have 59% left side weight, 61% cross, 57% rear. I usually like to match the left side and the cross, or within a percentage of each other. And the rear weight I usually like to have around 53. So on this particular cart, we'll need to add weight to the front end. So here we're just simulating a little bit of weight with a gallon of washer fluid. So we just added about 8 pounds to the front end. By adding that 8 pounds, we gained 2% of front weight. So it looks like he'll need about 16 pounds on the front end to get down to the 53% rear weight. Alright, so you're at 54% like that. That's better. That's pretty good right there. So you need that much light in the front, however much that weighs. In order to adjust cross weight, if you are experiencing a cart that's overturning, as in back end wants to slide out, front end wants to go toward the inside of the racetrack, you'll move this spindle, you'll move this toward the ground. If you're experiencing a tight issue where you turn the front wheels of the cart and the front wheel goes toward the outside of the track, you would move this side up. And you could do the same just opposite on that side.
For your left side weight, a lot of things you can change, and you can also do this for your cross, is you can move your wheel in and out. So you see right there we got about a 1/2 inch, 3/4 of an inch gap. So that's more weight or more room that we can move this wheel in, put more weight on that left rear. Over here we got about a 1/4 inch gap. We can move this in, that puts more weight on that right rear, or we can move it out to take weight off of it. And you have the same adjustment on the front end with spacers. Move them in and out. Moving them out takes weight off that wheel. Moving them in puts weight on it. Thank you for watching. Hopefully this helps you out a little bit. Please subscribe below.